Hello, I'm Gregor Huebner, and I'm very honored to be invited to the Impact series of Composers Now. You just heard a piece, it's called Angry Times. I composed this for 2 violins and electronics during the time when the demonstrations for social justice in 2020 happened, during also the Corona lockdown in New York City. It's called Angry Times. These were angry times, and I was very angry, as people should be. Like in angry times, political events affect me immensely. And you can call me a news junkie, and so did January 6, 2021. I wrote a piece, it's called Changing Times, and each movement, it's 4 movements, is based on a political event. For example, the 3rd movement is based on a Belarus folk song. I have a student in Munich who is from Belarus, and she cannot visit her parents since a long time. There's also the famous Maria Kolesnikova, who lived in Germany, is a flutist, and just was sentenced to 10 years in prison in Belarus. But I will play you the fourth movement of that piece. It's called The Siege. I was born in Germany, I grew up in Germany, and I studied classical violin in Vienna and in Stuttgart before I came to New York to study jazz piano and composition. So you see, I had many different interests, and after my studies I became a jazz violinist, so it was mixed up. But it shows you the interest I have in classical music, contemporary music, jazz, improvisation, also pop culture, and I think it's all mixed up in my compositions. The next piece you will hear is a composition I wrote for the International Harp Congress in Cologne, Germany, for harp and baroque harp. It's a duo. I hope you like it. It's called Barcelona. siblings, my sister and my brother, grew up in a family of musicians. We always played music. My father is a violinist, my mother was a choir conductor, so I also was in contact with singing a lot when I was young. And in the last couple of years I wrote a few choir compositions, and one was premiered this year too. It was supposed to be performed last year. And somehow I wrote this before all these things happened, or the idea came before all Corona happened, and also George Floyd and all these things, so it becomes political again, but I didn't know that it becomes political. The program was, the theme of the program was called Freedom. So there was Beethoven year, of course, 2020 was the Beethoven year with like Fidelio and all these compositions. I did arrangements of these kind of pieces, and I had a commission writing for string quartet, soprano solo and choir. And I wanted to use quotes by Martin Luther King. And the whole piece is called MLK. And you will hear this performance, and unfortunately I don't have a video of it, but it was a radio broadcast. You will hear the beginning of this piece, MLK.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
This was the beginning of MLK. The whole piece is about 15 minutes long, and it's, like I said, based on the quotes by Martin Luther King. Now I want to show you a composition I wrote a couple of years ago, also political. I tell you the story about it. It's played by Sirius Quartet, a string quartet based in New York. I'm a member of, and I'm very proud to be a member of. It's a great quartet, and we all write for this quartet. Years ago, the New York Philharmonics had an anniversary. It was like Dvorak's New World Symphony anniversary, 125 years, and which was a big commission from the New York Philharmonics. And the New York Philharmonics asked many composers in the New York State to write something and quote the second movement of the symphony. And we decided in the string quartet that I should do this, and it was right before the election in 2016. Before the election in 2016, I was really just like a news junkie, like I told you before, and I could not write a note until the 8th of November 2016. But the deadline was approaching, and so I knew I had to start on the 9th of November. Well, on the 9th of November, it was clear that we had a new president, and I was not so happy about that. So I was angry again. And I wrote this piece angry. But I think the energy I put in this was very good. So this is called New World, November 9th, 2016. Well, this was New World, November 9th, 2016. I got a prize for it. Was called the Grand Prize from the New York Philharmonics for that, and I was very honored about this. Now we come to my orchestral works, and maybe I can go back to my studies in Stuttgart. I was studying violin and jazz piano. I started already jazz piano in Stuttgart, and which I followed then on Manhattan, which I continued at Manhattan School of Music later. But I also got in contact with a lot of contemporary music. I played contemporary music in Stuttgart on the violin, string quartets and solo violin stuff. And a very influential teacher was teaching in Stuttgart, Helmut Lachenmann. And I went to his classes, and this is the new Neue Musik called in Germany. I would say it's very different than contemporary classical music in the US. And it has very interesting sides, and I love to play it, but it was not really what I wanted to write. I like improvisation. I like groove. I like time. Maybe that's my jazz side. And I wanted to involve this all in contemporary writing. Using contemporary classical techniques on the instrument and everything. So I started really writing for orchestra when I was at Manhattan School of Music. I wrote smaller things before, but this started at Manhattan School of Music, and I had a great teacher there, Ludmila Olela. And I want to show you a piece where all this comes together. It's written for the radio orchestra of the Southwest Radio and the big band of the Southwest Radio. So they both play together. I never wrote so many notes before. It's called Clockwork Interrupted. And maybe Time Cycles by Lucas Voss was the piece which was the inspiration for this piece. Like changing the time, changing the style, changing everything, changing improvisation, bring improvisation into the orchestra or from the big band into the orchestra. And I was very proud when this radio orchestra, one of the great German orchestras, played this piece, Clockwork Interrupted. this was Clockwork Interrupted, or a part of Clockwork Interrupted. The whole piece is also about 15 minutes. And like I said, my music speaks for me. I don't want to talk a lot, but I think I told you the main thing about me. And I want to end this video with a little piece I wrote during the Corona time in New York. I started, every 2 weeks I decided to record a little piano piece, which I did. And so now I have a whole series of piano pieces. And one of them is based on a harmonic structure of Richard Strauss' song. And I called it Lullaby. And I think it's the perfect piece to end this video. Thank you very much. I'm very honored, like I said, to be part of this. And I hope you enjoy it.